preterite chart. Today is going to be the 3 noisy vowel rule for the preterite chart. It's our last family in the preterite chart, and it's actually not on your preterite chart. But if you look at the very bottom of your preterite chart, you'll see a little space where you could add this to it to keep yourself nice and organized so everything's in one convenient spot. So basically what it is, if you want to go to page 250 in your textbook to follow along, I call this the 3 noisy vowel rule. This is for the preterite tense. This happens in the third person form, so in the él and the ellos forms. The I turns into AY, and the extra accents are in extra places. There are extra accents in extra places. So let's get right to it. Leer, to read. If we want to do I read, leí, nothing crazy here. Leíste. Now here's an example of an extra accent in an extra space. Normally, I've drilled it in your head, accents are on yoanel, 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 the likely suspects. However, with this 3 noisy vowel rule, there's extra accents in extra places. So I'm going to walk you through the steps. Let's pretend you didn't know any better. Let's pretend you didn't know any better, and you just followed what you thought would be a good el form for preterite, for an ER verb, like your preterite chart taught you. Then you write it like this, and you think, gosh, that just doesn't look quite right. And that's because we're not allowed to have 3 noisy vowels next to each other in certain tenses. So the I turns into a Y. Did you see that action? Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? The I turns into a Y. So it's not that there's both. The I turns into a Y. So it becomes leyó. Okay, then we go to the we form, and we've got leímos, leímos. We've got extra vowels in extra places. So we've got leímos, and then we don't do that one. We go down to ellos. We don't do the vosotros. Instead, we're just extra polite. Here is where we have that extra, the 3 noisy vowels sitting next to each other. If you didn't know any better, you would write it like that. You would look at that and think, just something doesn't quite look right. And that's because it's not right. That's your gut telling you it's not right. The I turns into a Y. But that looks so messy, so let's just get rid of it. And let's just do it the right way. And so it would be, let's go over to where it belongs. Leyeron. So this phenomenon of the 3 noisy vowel happens when there are 2 vowels sitting next to each other. So it happens in the verb leer. It happens in the verb creer, to believe. And it happens in the verb oír, which is the verb to hear. Okay, to hear. Now this one, to hear, is kind of strange. Notice the infinitive itself has an accent. How often do you get to see an infinitive itself with an accent? Not very often. So that's not a stretch of the imagination that we'd end up with extra owls. I keep saying that. Extra vowels in extra places. While we're on it, let's do it. Yo oí, I heard. You heard. Oíste. Okay, now here's where we get the extra accents in extra places. And then here's that 3 noisy vowel rule, oyó. Oops, it switched places on me. I don't know why I did that. Oyó. Let's squeeze in our Y there. Because there was originally an I if you thought you were following the rules, but then it would turn into a Y. So it becomes I heard, oí. You heard, oíste. He, she heard, oyó. We heard, oímos. Extra accents in extra places. Oímos. And then oyeron. What we got going on there is the 3 noisy vowel rule. The I turns into a Y. They heard, or you guys heard. Oí, oíste, oyó, oímos, oyeron. Oí, oíste, oyó, oímos, oyeron. Notice they all have accent marks except for the they form. Okay, so there are extra accents in extra places. The extras would be these 2. The normal suspects of yoanel, 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 yoanel always get their accents, as always, in preterite. Let's go back up to creer, to believe. I believed you until all of a sudden you said that, and then I stopped believing you. Creí. Creíste. You believed what you were hearing until you heard the last statement, and then you realized, bogus. Creyó, we've got our 3 noisy vowel rule. We've got creímos, got extra accents in extra places. And then we go to the 3 noisy vowel rule. They believed, creyeron. Creí, creíste, creyó, creímos, creyeron. And we've already covered leer. So this is the three noisy vowel rule. It happens when there are two vowels next to each other. The verbs that this happens the most often with are leer, creer, and oír. I do not want you to think that it happens with traer. At first glance, you might think it would happen with traer because you think, well, two vowels sitting next to each other. But we're better than that, stallions. What do we know traer is? We've already learned traer as being a blue jay. That's right. So traje, trajiste, etc. So I just want to remind you, it does not happen with traer, despite there being two vowels. Okay, so now that we've covered that family, let's go to something that's very similar, but slightly different. And that's the OIR family. Once again, we have two vowels sitting next to each other, two vowels sitting next to each other, two vowels sitting next to each other. Destruir is the verb to destroy. It's cognate. Construir, to construct or build. It's a cognate. Huir is to hurry or flee the scene. Think of it as flee, like to flee, to hurry, to skedaddle, to scat, to flee, to hurry, to get away from something. Okay? All right. So now that we've seen that, what happens here is we've got the three noisy vowel situation going on. Destruir, nothing there, just crazy, nothing crazy. Then we would see the II form. Now, back in the EER verbs, we had extra accents in extra places. With the OIR verbs, we do not have extra accents in extra places, so no accent. What I tell students is in the quote-unquote destruction, the extra accents flew off and they're not there. Maybe that's how you can remember it. Destruyó, he destroyed, she destroyed, it destroyed. Here's our three noisy vowel rule, right? The I turned into AY. And then they destroyed whatever they destroyed. Destruyeron. Oh, I have a little dyslexia going on. Destruyeron. There we go. We have our three noisy vowel rule. I turns into AY. And then in the we form, there are no extra accents in extra places because in the quote-unquote destruction, the extra accents flew off. So we do have accents in the normal suspects, yo and el, yo and el, yo and el. We do have the Y scenario happening, the three noisy vowel rule. We just do not have the extra accents in extra places. This is going to be the same situation for construir and huir and any other huir verb for that matter. Fluir, the verb to flow, that's another one, but you're not responsible for those. These two are your main suspects that you're responsible for in Spanish 2. In Spanish 3, you could conceivably learn huir. In fact, I do believe you learn it towards the beginning of the school year when you're doing the camping chapter. And then fluir, to flow. These are kind of all cognates, so they're not so bad. Gracias, stallions.